Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us. This is Nigeria Votes and my name is Vivian Oguche. I'm not alone, Ambrose is co-hosting the show with me today. Hi Ambrose.
Hi Vivian.
Yes.
Glad to know you're there.
Absolutely. It is a day after the first round of Nigeria's general elections, and would I be right to say that we are having a sigh of relief?
Yes, I think so. Tension is coming down.
So INEC will be opening the collation center at about 6 p.m. today. It is worthy of note that there was another press briefing today after the two we had yesterday.
Yeah.
It's amazing. They're taking everybody step by step, carrying everybody along, and let's see how it goes. Time for us to introduce our panelists to you. We have Alesta Wilcox. He is a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much, Alesta, for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure to be here once again.
Of course. We also have Omoshola Deji. He is a political scientist. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so how was voting for you yesterday?
Well, voting went on quite well. The ad hoc staff came on time, but then there were different kind of issues here and there across Lagos and many states in Nigeria. What that shows is that we prepared for the election like we used to prepare for the World Cup. You know, this is our emergency approach. You know, we have 4 years to prepare for the World Cup, but when the time is fast approaching, we just try to rush things. Then we move to prayer. And you know, the normal Nigerian way, when we should work first, then pray. Most time we pray first, then work. So I think that happened in the election too, because some of the issues here and there could have been avoided.
All right, Alesta, Omoshola has talked about putting the cart before the horse instead of the horse before the cart, something like that. But I know I had you a couple of days before the elections. You were on Nigeria Votes in the afternoon, and you said you were ready to go and that you knew people in your community were going to come out en masse. So I would like to ask, how was it for you guys yesterday?
Yeah, for us yesterday within my locality, I live in Shomolu and I voted in Shomolu. We are very friendly people in Shomolu. I don't think we've had any incidents of election violence since I started voting in Shomolu. So I want to give thumbs up to my hoods, my hoods friends in Shomolu. We all compacted ourselves, and we all we are slapping each other's hand. We are laughing with each other, across polling units, you know. And we had a wonderful election. In fact, I think at about 1:30, we finished voting in almost all, because the turnout was relatively very low. Relatively very, very low. And it's unfortunate that a place like Lagos, that has so much potential voters, having about 5 million, because we discussed about Lagos having about 5 million
registered
collected PVCs.
Okay.
And you discover that in my polling units, which is two polling booths, the total vote cast was just something above 100 plus, you know, and we had almost 700 and something name on the list that have collected PVC. So, but it was an election. The unfortunate thing is that it's just, I mean, in Lagos, I don't think there were serious incidents of ballot box voting not commenced, because by 7:20 when I walked out from my house, the INEC staff already setting up. You know, the only thing that marred the Lagos election, I think, is what happened in Okota. I think that's the only recorded incidents that we've had.
No, but we had reports from other polling units where there were delays and all of that.
Yeah, substantially. What I'm saying, substantially.
Okay.
Yeah, substantially. Certainly, like my brother said, we have this Nigerian factor. And like I was also said, we have a huge country, localities, and are moving materials, sorting out materials, will always, in fact, let's give next 20 years, will always be an issue, because someone has to carry it, someone has to report to work, someone has to. So our dexterity to work has never being apt. And so that is why you would still find that, yes, there will be incidences of where they will not start by 8, where they will start by 12, where, those kind of things. So we must, but if we look at it on a scale of 1 to 100, if we say they've done 85% in terms of readiness for last Saturday election, let's even take Lagos. If we say 85% readiness was achieved, I think we should give a thumbs up.
That's a pass mark.
No, we should give a thumbs up.
Yeah, so Ambrose, earlier on the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, had talked about results from Ekiti and Kwara.
Yeah, he said everything was ready there, both National Assembly and presidential, but the officials were taking the results to Abuja to formally get them announced. He said so. So he said Ekiti was the first, or is the first state to be ready with results, but it has to be announced at the national level. And
as at the time he gave the press briefing, they were on their way from Ekiti to Abuja.
Yes, and I was just wondering, but maybe because of the signatures that have to be signed on this paper, because I was saying all the way from Ekiti to Abuja before results are announced, couldn't we do it a better way somehow? But I remember they have to sign openly, so maybe you can't do that online or something.
Yes, sorry. In 2015, Jega introduced a new innovation to our national results. Before now, what obtains is the rec in the states will just either by fax or by whatever means transmit the results to Abuja. And there's a big board somewhere where they just write it in. And then, but in 2015, Professor Jega introduced this instance whereby the rec himself will come down there and present the results to the public, the entire public. So that has been the new format. And I think for me it's time wasting and time consuming as a matter of fact. But again, in order to give everybody a true and fair view of what transpired in the election. Here and there, but sincerely, I wouldn't think.
Well, I don't think going all the way from Ekiti or Lagos or Kano to Abuja is the right thing in this modern day and time where we have electronic voting. Don't forget that our roads are so very bad and prone to accident. So why should people risk their lives when there are technologies whereby you can easily send the result to Abuja? Now, if you are sending the result to Abuja or you are taking it there yourself, what's the difference? The party agent at the polling booth already have it. The agent at the ward level, state level already has this result. So it really doesn't make any logical sense for us to start saying we have to go to Abuja. We must not centralize everything. Part of the ineffectiveness we have in the Nigerian police, ministry and everything is because we centralize everything. Even anybody that occupies the position of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is always blamed for everything. Something will happen in maybe Yaba and they will be calling on the president. Why? Because it controls almost everything. So
but I think in this case of INEC, I think it's to entrench transparency.
No, I think
to make sure that nobody does.
We'll
take a break. We'll take a break.
I agree with you.
Let's hold it there because we want to take a listen to what the INEC chairman said a while ago this afternoon.
Unarmed policemen at polling units, will the decision be revisited given what we have seen? I think this is also one of the lessons that we need to learn from the way we conduct elections. Remember, there was a reason why the commission introduced the idea of having unarmed policemen at polling units. Citizens complained about the presence of armed security personnel at polling units. And so we thought the solution was to have unarmed security personnel. But if that is no longer the solution and it needs to be revisited, it's one of the lessons that we learn from conducting elections going forward. We have cancelled no elections, not in the FCT, not anywhere in the country. Under our laws, once the returning officers make a declaration, then only the judiciary can reverse those declarations. Much of the elections in the area councils in the FCT will be a matter for returning officers appointed by the Commission to make declarations. There's one senatorial seat and 2 federal constituencies in the FCT. We only collate the results for the presidential election. And we look at it in the context of nationwide results. No election result has been cancelled in the Federal Capital Territory or any part of Nigeria for that matter. I can only appeal to the social media to please be circumspect in the way we report, particularly the outcome of elections. I've seen some of the reports say one candidate has been declared winner, and then when you read it, they will say in his polling unit. So the position of the commission is that INEC as a commission does not support censorship. We don't support censorship. And we believe that the best antidote to fake news is more openness and transparency. And that is what we are doing through this medium, to explain and clarify and respond to your questions. But I can only appeal to those who operate at that level to please be extremely circumspect in the kind of information that they put forward.
Okay, now that was Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the INEC chief, and something that caught my attention was what he said, that the antidote to fake news is transparency. All right, so we have Shego Jumo, who is standing by live via Skype. It's right there at the INEC office. Shego, hi.
Greetings from the National Collation Center.
Greetings to you too from here in Lagos. I mean, it's been a long day for you, right?
Yeah, it's been a long day and it's going to get even longer as we await results.
Okay, so walk us through exactly what's happening right now.
Yes, if you paid attention to the press briefing by the INEC chairman some 2 hours or so ago, he did say there will be a formal inauguration of the National Collation Center by 6 p.m. From my clock here, it is now 6:14 and we're yet to get underway, I understand, inside the main hall of the International Conference Center. So we're still expecting them to begin the ceremony, for the inauguration. Results from Ekiti ready. We're still expecting more results to come in from other states from early Monday morning. So those who are yet to compile and get their results ready, as we speak now, they're working on getting them ready. Vivian?
I was going to ask you a question, but we'll definitely come back to you. Ambrose?
Chego, I was going to ask, is it just Ekiti you've heard about so far? Or we have any other states added to that? Okay, until we get back to you, it appears we've got to tidy up a few things there.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Just confirming what we said earlier.
Yeah.
Ekiti is ready and becomes the first state to be ready with results, but it has to be announced officially.
All right, so Omoshola, let's address some of the things that the INEC chairman talked about. He talked about unarmed policemen. He said if that is no longer a solution, then they'll have to look at something else. But I want to find out, did you have heavy presence of security personnel at your area yesterday?
Well, there's not much heavy presence of security personnel at majority of the polling unit. I think the security personnel were stationed at strategic locations, the flash point, and I think that is a good one. But what bothers me is the inability of the security agencies to curb the incidents of ballot box snatching, despite the warning of the president. And I think we're still going to be having that kind of scenario. The solution to that is if we can limit the reward that is attached to political offices. If you know that you are going there to serve, there's no much reward. You won't really put much of your energy and power to get there by all means. So we have the elite going there because of the political reward, and we have the average poor Nigerians going there because of poverty, because of the little stipend and the little gift that they get. And I've always said that when you are poor, your defense is weak. So you see that you have no control over yourself. That which you are going to survive on is what controls you. So the security agencies have done quite well, but I believe that a lot can still be done. And if we are to protect our vote in terms of ballot box snatching, since we don't want the police to be armed, and the language that Nigerians understand is when they see a policeman carrying a gun. When Nigerians don't see a policeman carrying a gun, they don't fear such policemen. And this is wrong in our society, because majority of the small kids are not supposed to be exposed to policemen carrying gun all over the place. You don't get this in other countries of the world, whereby you just see policemen parading themselves with guns and all that. So we can really change this when we address the right approach in terms of political participation.
All right.
Okay. We'll come back to that later. Let's bring in our guest in the Abuja studio. He's the president of CLO Abuja, Igho Akeregha. Hello, Akeregha.
Yes, good evening.
It's nice to see you there.
Maybe I should just correct. I'm not the president of CLO Abuja. I'm the national president of the Civil Liberties Organization.
Oh, beg your pardon. Okay, the national president of
Abuja,
CLO,
really.
Civil Liberties Organization. Thank you very much. We're glad you're there. Okay, you followed the election, at least throughout yesterday, I guess. Can we have just your impression, well, general impression of the exercise?
Well, we, as you know, the Civil Liberties Organization is a national organization. We have members in the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. Everyone have been looking forward to this election, and it has come and gone. Collation of results are on. Basically, what has happened in this election is there was so much expectation, and so also there were issues about flashpoints. Some states, Rivers State, Bayelsa, Delta, Kaduna, Kano, maybe to some extent Akwa Ibom State. So we also focused in these supposedly flashpoint areas, you know, to see what we play out. So what happened really is not much, apart from Rivers State, where Akokutoro and Bonny, where clearly there were issues in the electoral process, and INEC has rightly deferred those elections. Basically, there were really no issues. In the FCT, the election went peacefully, apart from issues relating to logistics within the commission, that is INEC itself. In the FCT, you had a situation where card reader machines were very, very slow in certain polling units, while in some other polling areas, the card reader machines were effective. So to that extent, but the INEC rallied around later to correct those deficiencies, and deployed their technical teams to rectify the defective card reader machines. And the elections went on smoothly. We also know that in certain places across the country where INEC felt that voting commenced late, it extended a bit late in the evening before the exercise came to a close. So we are hopeful that the outcome will reflect the wish of all Nigerians, apart from the few places. Also in Lagos State, particularly in Isolo, that's the Kotun Isolo area. That place has always been a flashpoint, really. And we saw how ballot papers were burnt, ballot boxes also were destroyed. And I think INEC is also addressing that. So, and INEC, this is the first major task for Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. He has organized, he has presided over elections in Osun, in Kogi, in Ekiti State, Anambra, and all that. And so far, so good. I think it's not a very bad outing for for the INEC chairman and the commission.
Let's look at
So
security.
Nigerians as it were, I think
I'm
what
happy
is
you
happening now is a lot of information in the social media that is tending to exacerbate tension across the country. And I listened to the INEC chairman rightly appeal to the social media where they do not have the powers to gag anyone or censor those who are willing to put those information there. But we are all Nigerians. We need to be careful with what we put out there. I'm also a journalist. You cannot just wake up and put information in this information superhighway. We must not forget the information we put in the social media is not for the consumption of only Nigerians. Everybody in the world have access to those information. We use our small smartphones to put on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, everywhere. So when you put those informations there, as a Nigerian, you have to be conscious of the fact that you are either helping your country or you are demarketing your country.
Okay, let's
so
just hold it there.
We must all join hands with INEC and the government to ensure that this election is peaceful. The outcome is acceptable to all. INEC has a responsibility at this point to ensure that no amount of pressure, that they should not cave into any kind of pressure from anywhere. That is why the word is the Independent National Electoral Commission. So as an organization, we are optimistic, we are hopeful, we monitor the elections. We are hopeful that the outcome will be good.
Let's just look at one point. As civil liberties organization, you'll be concerned about people's freedom. And were you impressed that, let's take the Okota area where you talked about, and I'm sure you saw it. Were you impressed that the policeman, because we saw one in action trying to save a few things, was not armed? Do you think if that man were armed, the situation would be the same thing?
The situation would have been different. For me, I think that is part of the deficiencies in our electoral system. We are not yet there as a country, so we cannot put 4 policemen or 2 policemen in a polling unit and then they are not armed. At best, if we don't want to arm all the policemen, because the president rightly said that the president, though he was condemned, and as an organization, we didn't quite like that speech coming from the president that ballot box snatchers will have to pay with their lives. Yes, we do not subscribe to comments like that coming from the president, but the president is a Nigerian. He appreciates the issues, the local issues, and we also saw it play out in Okota in Isolo. So if that policeman were to be armed, I'm sure he would have made a difference. In future elections, I would suggest that if we have 2 policemen in a PU, in a polling unit, one of the policemen at least should be armed. In Abuja here, for example, we had police backup in trucks, in their vehicle, not too far from the polling units. And we have them driving around. I do not know what the situation was in Lagos, how it was possible for those guys to move into the polling unit, disorganize everybody, shoot, and then they destroy those ballot boxes and the papers. If the policemen, and we all know, I do not even understand why, that area is a flashpoint. So why would INEC, because INEC is the one that also deploys the policemen, why would INEC leave 2 unarmed policemen in that area that is a flashpoint? I would have thought that mobile policemen who are armed.
All right, Mr. Akeregha.
That would have made a difference, and that would have saved the commission.
Okay, Mr. Akeregha. Permit me to butt in.
The pressure of having to organize another election.
Can you hold your thought, right? Hold your horses. I'll come back to you. Let's hook up to Shegun, who is standing by right now. Shegun, it's good to have you back. Earlier, you said that as at 6:14, nothing has started. Anything happening at the moment?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you something is happening right now, but while I was holding up for you, listening to the conversation, I've noticed quite a few people, party agents. I just noticed Osita Chidoka, who is of the PDP, former minister, just walked in. The customs boss also came in not too long ago. He and Festus Keyamo, the campaign team of the president, the media arm, they just walked in. The U.S. ambassador is also here, and some other foreign observers. The head of the EU delegation also expected here. I believe he should be inside right now. Security agencies, NSCDC, just a car driving in now. So we have a lot of people arriving, but I'm sure things are very close to being on the way, if they're not on the way already.
We have another case of late arrival of personnel now, not materials. Okay, so I guess that when they come, the briefing will start, or the inauguration will now kick off. Okay, I was asking you earlier if, apart from Ekiti, you've heard any other states ready with results.
No, we haven't. We haven't heard of any other states being ready. I can't confirm that. No.
Okay. This inauguration you're talking about, what does it entail? What are we expecting from the inauguration?
Yeah, okay, you see, this, just like we had it in 2015, we have the various parties will be here. Their representatives that will be at the collation center, just like you had, you have party agents at the polling units monitoring what was going on. You know, we're also going to have representatives of the parties, 73 now, that participate in the presidential election. They all have their people here. All right, the foreign observers, domestic observers will all have representation here. Media, the journalists are also accredited to be in the collation center. Now, the accreditation, like the one I'm holding up here, is a bit different from the ones you saw everybody carrying yesterday, the bigger ones. That one you can go, is for you to go around the police stations without being harassed. But without this one, you can't even get into the premises where I am right now at the International Conference Center. This is what admits you into the International Conference Center and into the national, into the ICC and into the National Collation Center, where this ceremony is going to be taking place. And of course, it is in here that results will be announced. If I'm to quote the INEC chairman, he said in the not too distant future, the commission will make a formal declaration of who the next president of Nigeria will be. We're keeping our fingers crossed, holding our breath, hoping that from tomorrow morning, more results will come in from across the country, and then hopefully a declaration will be made.
Shagun, let's take a look at some of the things the INEC chairman talked about earlier on. He mentioned unarmed policemen. He also talked about no election cancelled in any part of the country. He also appealed to social media, those who are always on social media. He talked about the antidote of fake news being transparency, right? Those are talking points right now in the polity.
Yeah, the issue about unarmed policemen, I asked that question because I was intrigued by what I saw, the various posts we saw yesterday on social media. The police, in some cases, some policemen just standing by while the thugs had a field day destroying people's votes, people's ballots. And for those who know, who were there from 6 a.m. or even 5 a.m. queuing up, waiting to cast their votes, and then to see your sweat, so to speak, your franchise being destroyed just like that, it was quite upsetting. And then the fact that the policemen couldn't even do anything because they were unarmed. I had to ask, with benefit of hindsight, do you think that decision was ill-advised? And he answered that, look, the main reason why INEC took that decision was because voters in the past have complained of being scared of, having armed policemen at polling units. So INEC had to take that decision. Okay, let's have policemen there, 3 policemen being complemented by other security agencies, but unarmed. But in some cases, that backfired. And if I'm to borrow a leaf from what our guest in Abuja here said, maybe INEC should have, what they should have done was to what they usually do, a threat assessment before the elections. Where are the likely flashpoints? And in polling units where they think there could be acts of violence, and then maybe they should have safeguarded those places. Here in Abuja, we had that kind of benefits. Where I went to in Kari yesterday, I saw policemen in trucks, Hilux trucks, moving around from polling unit to polling just to see what was going on there. Perhaps that was not the case in those places in Lagos and Anambra and in Port Harcourt.
With all that's happened now, what do you hear from observers, especially the international observers? What do they say about the election?
Well, for now, the observers are not really saying, they're not saying anything, but tomorrow we're going to get a statement from them. All the observer groups have a press conference. I'll call it almost a coordinated kind of press conference tomorrow, starting from about 10 a.m. The ECOWAS observer team will be making its first assessment of the election, the preliminary assessment. The EU observation team will also be doing its own assessment, and then the Commonwealth team also has a statement it will issue tomorrow. So all the observer groups have something to say about the elections starting from tomorrow. So then we'll be able to quote them formally.
I want to thank you, Shegun. Once the program begins there, let us know and we'll come back to you for details. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, back to our studios here. Looking back now, are we regretting the the absence of armed policemen at polling stations?
It's a two-way traffic. First and foremost, I wanted to make some comment before we went on that break, in support of what my brother said with respect to movement of coming to Abuja to go and announce results. You know, we like this paparazzi too much. Look at it. An event was to start by 6 o'clock, and as we speak, this is 6:33, and a high caliber event. That is the pure Nigerian factor. If this is the United States of America or Britain, 6 o'clock is 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
If they say you are starting by 5:15, 5:30, everybody is seated down. And so when you look at man movement now, you are talking of material movement across. So it's a shame on our national psyche. And then the result can be transmitted, it can be declared in your state. The electoral officers should be able to declare the result in the state, and the just collect at the center. You know, to save funds, to save resources. Because I don't know what they're going to use to ferry them. Maybe helicopter, because you can't go by road from Ekiti to Abuja today.
No.
So you might need a helicopter to ferry them, or a private jet to ferry them. Look at that kind of cost.
And 36 states.
From 36 states. Look at that kind of cost. And you are not taking one person. You're going to take like 7, 8, 10 people who are coming there. You pay logistics, you pay accommodation, you pay. So we like to spend money on what is not necessary. So if a result has been collected at a state level, the state level should announce the result there, sent to Abuja.
Because you have all the party officials at the state level to authenticate. Yes. So for me, something needs to be done. We don't at these ceremonies, and now you want to start an occasion. Up to you've not even started.
Just guests arriving.
You will come. You will now read and read. You have 74 presidential candidates. For one person to present his report, it will take nothing less than 40 minutes, 40 to 50 minutes.
Okay.
So these are the issues.
We'll hold it there. We hear Austin Ajayi right from Borno State. He's our correspondent. He's waiting to fill us in. Hello, Austin.
Hello. Good evening. How is the studio there?
Good evening.
Well.
So what's the latest from Borno State?
Yeah, the results are beginning to trickle in. As we speak, 7 local governments have brought their results, and the figures they've already announced their figures. Out of the 7, APC is leading with landslide victory. The PDP only won in one of the local governments, that's mobile local government, where PDP presidential candidate scored 13,122 votes, as against the APC candidate of 634. In Ngala local government, PDP scored 775, APC 6,804. Mogambari local government, PDP 692, APC 12,739. In Gobi local government, PDP had 510 votes as against APC 10,207 votes. In the Kwa local government area, PDP scored just 100 votes, 100 votes, while APC scored 17,805 votes. In Ramadan local government, PDP had 270 votes as against 5,909 votes of the APC. In Gumala local government area, PDP had 521 votes, while APC had 5,370 votes. These are the votes so far received. They will also resume there by 7 p.m. at the Sakashin College of Education, where the coalition is taking place.
Okay, so we're making progress over there with collation of results, and there's no disturbance, I guess. Thank you very much, Austin. We'll come back to you once there's another development. Thank you very much. We are going back to Abuja now. I think are we ready to go to Abuja? Okay, let's come back to our studios here. You know, you were going to talk about...
Yes, so with respect to the armed security men,
yes,
I think it will not be a total thing. In my opinion, like I said, I want to congratulate people of Shomolu. We are so peaceful people.
How come you're only peaceful at election time? Because outside election,
Shomolu is not the... It's Fadeyi.
Oh, they are sisters.
Fadeyi,
They are sisters or brothers.
They are neighbors.
Okay, they are neighbors.
But Fadeyi is the one that is having problems. Shomolu is a peaceful place.
Okay.
So, you know, at the polling unit, I became a de facto security officer there because I was beginning to control crowds.
Okay.
You know, I made sure that nobody steps across a certain plank that was kept. So that, you know, and the NEC officer, the way they congratulated me, I had a problem by slapping and I said high five. And I told the man, in fact, when your NEC Alawi come, I will send my... So we are friendly in other areas. But it's still, like we said, we know the flashpoint. And the danger of... I mean, what happened in Okota should have been expected.
Really?
Should have been expected because...
But they don't have such track record.
No. It happened last time.
Really?
Yes. That should have been expected because of the cross-ethnic divide in Okota. And we know that, and from available statistics, a particular ethnic group is pro-PDP.
Oh.
While the other people is pro. And the pro-PDP ethnic group seems to have more population in that Okota area. And so that brought problems in 2015, a few problems in 2015. But because of then the late OPC leader was still alive, so I think he did a lot of listening to douse the problem. So that should have been taken fully into consideration in what happened. So yes, armed security men, I don't think it is the total right idea, because again, like you say, it might scare people away, and again, people might think that, you know, if you over-militarize a place, somebody can say, just like what the president said, people should not carry ballot balls at your own peril. It was turned upside down, and everybody, and of course he said across party lines. He never mentioned opposition or he said across party lines, but the opposition picked it, civil society picked it, the press picked only that statement and forgetting all that the president said, which was wrong. So I think they should identify flashpoints. Put armed security men not on the polling unit. I will still support that, but strategic. Okota is a major road. I mean, where the thing happened was a major road. So if there was no police patrol team or police backup team on that road, then something was wrong with the deployment strategy. You know, if you I just say this, like my darling River State, which is rather a sore point in our democratic journey, and the River State has refused to learn democratically. And it's sad because what happened in River State, and the worst part of it in a place doesn't happen in my local government, Bonny. I don't think that in Bonny we've never had history of electoral disturbances that will cause a postponement. Yeah, the Akutori, that's the Bonny area. Yes, they have one of there has been those issues in time past. But Bonny, local government, it has never happened before. But for it to have happened now, only God knows what could have transpired. I think in River State we should learn how to be more civil with electioneering. Absolutely.
Let me come to you. You know, earlier on you had said you weren't very satisfied with the electoral umpire, but that was the first time I saw the INEC chairman smile with relief when he was saying that no election had been cancelled in any part of the country. Do you think you can give it to them in that aspect?
Well, I would have loved to give it to them, but I won't really give it to them because the process can be more better than that, than what we had yesterday. We 240 something billion naira budgeted for the election, 4 years to prepare for this election. Now, if you look at the motivation of the ad hoc staff, the NYSC if you look at it, what is their motivation?
You're talking about incentives, right?
Yes, the incentives.
But no election was cancelled.
Yes.
In any part of the country.
No election was cancelled doesn't mean that the process is as perfect as it ought to be. Because if you look at this issue in 2011, we have the same issue of postponement. If you look at 2015, we have the same issue of postponement. So naturally, the postponement alone has weighed down the mark that anybody could have given to INEC. Because if you look at the effect on the economy, on individuals. Now, let's be quite, let's make a personality swap with people that are having events yesterday. What about people that are getting married? What happens to them? So a situation whereby you just wake up at midnight on the eve of an election, like 6 hours to the election, then you just announce postponement. What happens to the international observers? We should not think that people coming here, people coming into our country to observe the electoral process are people that don't have anything that they are doing. These are busy minds too. There's election going on in Senegal. So when you factor all that in, then if you look at a situation where people, what is the equity? We can only rate INEC as pass mark when each political party in their stronghold have equal opportunity. A situation whereby people go to the strongholds of a particular political party and they snatch ballot boxes. You won't really say that INEC has made adequate preparation, and the security agencies too. So these are things that on the long run makes the election inconclusive, and we should encourage a situation whereby once we have an election, max 24 hours, we have the result. The more it takes for the results to be released, the more the opportunity for power to change hands and for there to be electoral fraud and some form of manipulation of the process.
Okay. But you can't really blame INEC for the security aspect of the election because it's not distinctly under them. You agree with that?
Yes, it's not under them, but if you look at the Electoral Act, INEC is to suggest to the security agency. INEC is in charge of conducting the election.
Yeah,
the security agencies are to provide security as suggested by INEC itself. Yes. So
and
we can't exclude one from the other.
Two unarmed policemen to each voting
in terms of the armed policemen.
Unarmed. Yes.
Now, let's even say armed. There are some people that are suggesting armed policemen. We need to remember that majority of these political talks are as well armed.
Okay.
They came there unarmed yesterday because the policeman is unarmed.
Okay.
If the policeman is armed, they too will come there armed.
Okay. So it becomes fire for fire.
So it's action and reaction.
Yes. We're going back to Abuja. Let's talk to Igho again. He's still there. Yes, Igho of CLO. We are talking of we talked about that with you before. Let's talk of what's happening in Abuja now, where you are. I was talking of international observers. In the first place, do we have much of these observers when advanced countries are doing their election? Or is it just particular to Africa?
But before I address that, we have identified the problem of the unarmed policemen, security forces in our voting centers. What are the solutions? Because in 2023, we are going to come back to also discuss this issue. For me, we can have policemen carrying concealed weapons. If voters are going to be scared of policemen who are outrightly bearing weapons, policemen or security forces can conceal their weapons. We can also have the K9 Department of the Police or the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Force. I saw them in Abuja with their dogs. So if the dogs, for example, were in that polling unit in Okota where those dogs were overturning, you can unleash the dogs on them if you don't even want to use your weapon. So for me, I think that we are just begging the issue all the time by saying, by always, Nigerians are very good at debating issues without being proactive to address the issues. Now, to the international observer, it is a shame, as far as I'm concerned, that Nigeria, being the leading country in Africa, we pride ourselves as the giant of Africa. How big and how giant are we if we still begin to behave like babies that have to be supervised by foreigners? Even in the little things that we have to do, as little as elections. People think that election is a very big issue. For me, it is a small issue. It is a ritual that comes every 4 years for citizens to elect their leaders. Unfortunately, what has happened is that the leaders, who I prefer to call rulers, because these are not leaders. Leaders, they lead by example. They offer rulers, political elites and political class in Nigeria are rulers who think that the citizens are answerable to them. That is why they can hire thugs, pay thugs to go to a polling unit.
Okay, I think we're having some issues there. When we get that sorted out, we'll go back to him. Okay, I hear we have some observation by some international observers. We're just talking about them. Let's hear what they have to say about the elections.
The reports filed in by our observers deployed all around Nigeria, it was recorded that the turnout of voters across the country was impressive, as supporters of the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party were active in casting their ballots for their respective candidates. The conduct of the electoral officials appeared to be consistently fair and an indication of non-interference by the government or any of its agents. There were, however, some polling units that experienced late arrival of election officials and/or voting materials. In both Abuja and Nasarawa State, observers witnessed polls opening late and voting beginning after the scheduled start. In Abuja, Jeff and I, personally, saw voting begin as late as 9:30 p.m. after we arrived, and later in the day, in a Mararaba polling station in Nasarawa State, voting didn't begin until 1 p.m., again after we arrived. There were also reports of unruly behaviour at some polling units that required the immediate deployment of security to restore order. An example was in Kaduna State, where voters attempted to provoke security personnel, although a senior military officer quickly resolved the situation. There have been additional reports of scattered violence in Lagos, Obu State, River State, and Bayelsa State. Incidents of vote spying were dealt with by surveillance mounted by operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and other security agencies that consisted of the Army, Police, and the Civil Defence. The various security agencies were professional in handling incidents of ballot box snatching and other forms of electoral malpractices. Worthy of mention is the professionalism displayed by the Nigerian Army. The security agencies were on top of the situation in areas that were hitherto known for election-related violence, and the other regions as a whole. Observers watched votes being counted at polling stations, noting that the announcement of the vote from each ballot was announced clearly and that citizens were monitoring the process along with officials and party monitors. From reports collated from our field officers, the 2019 general elections to this point seem free, fair and credible, as neither party can fault the transparent process that occasioned accreditation and voting.
Okay, a foreign observer reeling out what they observed during the polls yesterday. We're taking you straight now to Abuja as we hook up to the INEC Collation Center to find out exactly what is going on. Take a listen.
Civil in your countenance, civil in your language, and no grandstanding, no use of fiery language. This is no longer the time for campaigning. Campaigns are over, the elections are over. We're here to collate all the results coming in from the states. The procedures will be explained by the returning officer, but basically these are just some of the ground rules. Are there any issues or questions at this stage that you want clarification on? On the ground rules, issues of procedure will be dealt with by the returning officer, and then you can wait for the presentation to interrogate or ask any questions or make any necessary clarifications that you may need. In the absence of that, let me quickly, I missed one of the national commissioners while I was doing the introduction. He was an important member of the board of the commission. Dr. Mustafa Leki came in after the introduction. Dr. Leki, sir, please can you set up for recognition. Thank you so much. So basically, the last thing I have to do is just describe the layout of this hall. Only accredited people have access to this hall, and the media, I think most of this has been covered live. So we have specified places for the media. They're not allowed to, and very soon my colleague here will excuse us. We have to keep this front very, very free, and certainly the way they are arranged, nobody will disrupt the view or hearing of the party agents who are here to serve you. At the back of the hall, at the back there, we have the secretariat. This coalition center has a secretariat. And when the scopes, the state coalition officers come, they report there and they'll be queued in to bring their papers. More will be dealt with by the returning officer. The secretariat is over there. Of course, the commission returning officer is over here. As we go by, we're gracious enough to serve coffee, water, and whatever it is, little snacks that you may need will be at the back of the hall. Quietly, if you feel the need, you go back there to help yourself, please. Thank you. Honorable Chairman, National Commissioners, we have done the introductions. We have laid down the ground rules for our engagement. It is now my honor, respect, to call on the Chief Returning Officer, the Returning Officer for the presidential election, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, Chairman INEC, the Chief Electoral Commissioner of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to please outline the procedures and give us opening remarks and formally open the National Coalition Center and Presidential Coalition Center for the 2019 general elections in Nigeria. Honorable Chairman, sir.
Thank you very much. The polling agents of the 73 political parties that sponsored candidates in the 2019 presidential elections, our national and international observers, members of the diplomatic corps, my colleagues, the chairmen of electoral commissions from different parts of the world, the media, national and international, representatives of the various security, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, I welcome you all to the formal opening of the 2019 Presidential Elections Results Collation Center. As we commence the opening formalities of the process of collation of results of the presidential election, it is my duty to explain the procedure and set the ground rules to govern proceedings as follows. 1. All accredited polling agents, observers, the media, the diplomatic community, and security agencies should adhere to the sitting positions assigned to them. 2. Results for each state of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory shall be presented by the State Coalition Officer for the Presidential Election, SCOPE, who also serve as the Coalition Officer at State and FCT level. 3. After collecting the results at state level, the scope shall be accompanied to Abuja by the resident electoral commissioner and security agencies. Number 4, on arrival at the collection center, the scope shall be received by the collation secretariat, which shall organize the sequence of presentation. Everything is going to be done in this hall. The collation secretariat, which I had, is not in any room in this building. If you look at the extreme right, you will see a table there. That is the collation secretariat. So on arrival, the scopes will be received in the open, and people will know who has arrived, and the responsibility of the secretariat is just to organize the sequence of presentation by the scope. At the extreme end of the hall, you see there are black leather chairs. That will be the holding area for our resident electoral commissioners and the scopes when they arrive for the presentation of results. Number 5, the returning officer, that is myself, shall invite the scope, accompanied by the rec, to the seat provided for the presentation of result. And by my left, there is a table there covered in white cloth. There are 2 chairs, one for the scope, the other one for the resident electoral commissioner. The scope will make his or her presentation. From that table, the results from the state will be announced loudly for all of you to hear. Number 6, the scope, following the format for the presentation of results, shall announce the votes scored by each political party in the state, including reports of cancellations and areas where elections did not hold, if any. Number 7, the returning officer then invites comments and observations, if any, from the polling agents. Number 8, the returning officer requests the scope to hand over the original copy of Form EC8D. Number 9, when all the scopes have presented their results, the returning officer shall display the sealed copies of the result sheets, EC8DA, which is a summary of results of elections on state-by-state basis, the EC8E, the declaration of results of the election, and EC40G3, which is a summary of registered voters in polling units where elections were cancelled or not held. 10, the returning officer then completes from EC8D and announce the votes scored by each party, and thereafter invites the polling agents to endorse the forms. 11,
we apologize for that, but as soon as we're able to hook up to the INEC chairman again, we will do that. In the meantime, he basically outlined the mode of presentation and then order of event.
Yes.
Yes, how things are going to unfold. Yeah. What's I mean, how will I say it now? What stood out for you?
Well, I think he just wanted to let the people around know what to expect, so that when events begin to happen, they won't be asking why this, why this. I didn't see anything, something special there. It's just the order of events, how things will flow.
Okay, absolutely.
And I think just to familiarize that with those who are there.
You know, Alesta, let me come to you. Do you think what just happened is in keeping with what the INEC chairman had said earlier on today when he talked about the antidote to fake news being transparency? Do you think this is a classical example of effective communication?
I don't think there's anything added to make anything transparent.
Oh, okay.
This is just, for me, this is funfair.
Really?
As far as I'm concerned, this is total funfair. And we should be developing our democracy and capacity. Because you're going to spend the next 2 days. If from what the INEC chairman has just read out is to be followed, like I said, each presenter will take nothing less than 40 minutes. And then with all the ceremony of displaying this, signing this, so it will take you another minimum two to 3 days to really conclude this process. And for me, it doesn't add anything to the process. It doesn't add anything. But yes, you need to be transparent. INEC has been transparent to the level whereby you get to the polling unit, there is the result is there. The results are declared at the polling unit level. So if all the results have been declared at the polling unit level, by now, any candidate has all the polling unit results should have known his or her position. I mean, so it doesn't need to take all these ceremonies. For instance, now, there are some states now where you have House of Rep election, House of and Senate election. They should have declared, those ones have been declared there. You know, unfortunately, the press is always focusing on Abuja alone. I don't know if they have focused on any of the House of Rep elections that have been declared or Senate that has been declared. We should be talking about those ones. Because this one, in the next 2 days, going to 3 days, before you finish the whole 36 states and Abuja are coming to present and talk and talk. Okay. So nothing, for me, nothing seriously transparent added to the whole thing. Allow me to butt in here, Alesta. Yeah.
We've got to take a short break, right? Inauguration is over at the INEC Collation Center. But we'll take a break right here so that when we come back, we'll give you the latest news as to what's going on right now. Stay with us. Well, thank you for joining us on STV News at 7. I am Vivian Oguche. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, may review the policy of non-deployment of armed policemen into the polling units. This was disclosed by the chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, while giving an update on the Saturday polls on Sunday. He said this is a result of some violence reported at the unit. The INEC boss also said no election was cancelled in any part of the country. Professor Yakubu also appealed to the social media to refrain from posting fake results, saying the commission is the only body statutorily empowered to declare results.
Unarmed policemen at polling units, will the decision be revisited, given what we have seen? I think this is also one of the lessons that we need to learn from the way we conduct elections. Remember, there was a reason why the commission introduced the idea of having unarmed policemen at polling units. Citizens complained about the presence of armed security personnel at polling units. And so we thought the solution was to have unarmed security personnel. But if that is no longer the solution and it needs to be revisited, is one of the lessons that we learn from conducting elections going forward. We have cancelled no elections, not in the FCT, not anywhere in the country. Under our laws, once the returning officers make a declaration, then only the judiciary can reverse those declarations. Much of the elections in the area councils in the FCT will be a matter for returning officers appointed by the commission to make declarations. There's one senatorial seat and 2 federal constituencies in the FCT. We only collate the results for the presidential election, and we look at it in the context of nationwide results. No election result has been cancelled in the Federal Capital Territory or any part of Nigeria for that matter. I can only appeal to the social media to please be circumspect in the way we report, particularly the outcome of elections. I've seen some of the reports say one candidate has been declared winner, and then when you read it, they will say in his polling unit. So the position of the commission is that INEC as a commission does not support censorship. We don't support censorship. And we believe that the best antidote to fake news is more openness and transparency. And that is what we are doing through this medium.
Meanwhile, the Collation Center has opened in Abuja in attendance INEC officers and other stakeholders. And now the People's Democratic Party has urged the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC to declare its candidate Atiku Abubakar the winner of the 2019 presidential election held across the country on Saturday. PDP expressed the view that its candidate has won the election and that INEC was only delaying the announcement to enable it to falsify figures in favor of the ruling All Progressives Congress. Their candidate, President Muhammadu Buhari, taking to its verified Twitter handle at official PDP NIG on Sunday afternoon, PDP had tweeted, the PDP charges INEC to immediately announce results as delivered from the polling units and declare the people's candidate Atiku the winner of the February 23 presidential election. End of quote. And in a swift reaction, the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council has alleged plans by the People's Democratic Party to release fake results of the presidential election compiled by the party. A spokesperson of the council, Festus Kayamo, accused the PDP of aiming to create crisis and confusion that would lead to its candidate Atiku Abubakar claiming victory ahead of the official announcement. He called on INEC, the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, and all law enforcement agencies to continually warn the PDP and others that anyone who flouts the law will be called to book. Now, collation of election results for the presidential and National Assembly election in Just South and Just North local government areas have reached advanced stage. Our correspondent Alfred Mangai reports that the rescheduled election in Zawambi ward has caused a delay in the collection of results for Just South local government area.
INEC electoral officer in Just North local government area, Godwin Edibo, said that out of 14 registration areas in Just North local government area, 10 wards have so far submitted in their results as at 4 p.m. today.
So far we have received results from 10 wards. We are waiting for the balance of 4 wards to turn in their results.
He said after collation is completed, the results for the presidential election will be forwarded to the State Collation Center, while that of the House of Representatives, Just North Basa, will be announced at the Local Government Collation Center.
The result will be further, escalated to the State Collation Center, while the results for the House of Reps, Just North Basa Federal Constituency, will be collated and a return will be made right here.
In Just South local government area, the local government coalition officer for the presidential election, Dr. Joel Barde, said 10 out of the 12 wards have so far turned in their results as at 4:30 p.m.
I think we are making progress because as it is now, we have collected about 80% of the results from the various wards we have within Jos South local government.
Returning officer for Jos South, Jos East Federal Constituency, Professor Rahila Gowon, and Henry Longpo, the coalition officer for Jos South, said the rescheduled election in Zawan B ward has caused a delay in the collation of results for Jos South local government area.
We should have started collecting that of Jos South in preparation for announcement of results, but elections were done today in some wards in Jos South.
Out of 12 wards, we've collated results from 10 wards, and so far so good. Everything is going on well.
From Jos, Alfred Mungay, STV News.
And from Plateau State to the other parts of the country, suspected thugs reportedly chased INEC officials conveying election results out of the Igho Akeregha Collation Center located in Western Boys High School in Benin, Edo State. The House of Representatives candidate of the All Progressives Congress and incumbent member representing Igho Akeregha Federal Constituency, Johnson Agbonima, alleged that the Electoral Act had been breached. He added that the results for wards 1, 3, 4, and 5 should not be taken to the collation center through the back door. To the southeast now, the youths of Ohaji Egbema local government area of Imo State have called for the cancellation of the presidential and National Assembly election in the area. The leader of the protesting youths, Emmanuel Okudiri, says the electoral body should not receive any result from Ohaji Egbema areas of the state, alleging that election did not take place at all in the area.
So we are here to plead to INEC and whomever that is in charge to please to never accept any result coming from Ohaji Egbema. We'll call for the cancellation of the election for the rerun so that we can elect free and we can elect our good people and have free and fair election.
Some election material was not true with us yesterday. So we are here to let INEC to know that we need free and fair election. That is why we are here now to protest that they should bring back election in Ohaji Egbema.
The placard-carrying youths also called on the electoral body to conduct a rerun, free and fair, where transparency will be the order of the day.
Yesterday, there is a very big problem in our community. If not that I'm well recognized in our community, that could be a very big fight, a very big crisis. Yesterday, no result sheet was arrived. We didn't see any result sheet. We didn't see any ballot paper.
As Obile, there was no voting. If you go to our equated the ward, 002, 003, 007, 008, and 0011 and 13, we are snatched away by some thugs who came with camouflage military men, which will confirm that they are not the military men assigned by INEC. So we are here in a peaceful mood to tell INEC and whomever that's in charge to please and kindly reject any results that they will bring or submit from Ohaji Egbema.
Let's move to Bayelsa State, where Governor Henry Seriaki Dixon says he will personally stage a peaceful protest in rejection of any election result announced by INEC for Basambiri in Nembe local government area of the state. The governor said the election in Basambiri was characterized by all forms of electoral malpractices and that any results from that area is null and void. He maintained that a credible election should be free from interference and from politicians and federal might.
I will lead demonstrations and protests aimed at vindicating the democratic rights of the people of Basambiri. And I'm calling on INEC, Resident Electoral Commissioner. Let him drop that his lily liver and wear the garb of an electoral umpire in this state. Because if you allow Timi Silva with Kojo to take 7 electoral materials, lock the place down by force of arms, illegal arms, with soldiers and others conniving with them, then what makes you think that you are ready for any election in this state or anywhere? Then what you are telling politicians and the people is your votes are not important. If you want to win an election, you better go and raise a militia.
The governor accused INEC of having double result sheets to manipulate the election results in favor of the opposition party.
This INEC that we have has two sets of results. One set of results that it gives to the public, another set of results that it gives to the APC and their leaders. I'm aware that there are efforts to storm Sagbama Collation Center even as we speak, in a local government where they lost unit by unit, word by word. And yet political leaders who want to be relevant, who need votes, they sit in Abuja. They have no contact with their people. They don't know the problems of their people. And worst of all, they come and insult their people and oppress them using our nation's military with INEC conniving.
And away from Bayelsa State, collation of National Assembly results is ongoing in Anambra South Senatorial District. Correspondent Odo Young reports that as at the time this report was filed, counting was ongoing in Nnewi South, which is the collection center for Anambra South Senatorial District, under heavy security. Members of various parties declined to speak to the press as they wait anxiously for the announcement of the result. And as Nigerians await announcement of results of the just concluded elections, the Center for Transparency Advocacy, CTA, has accused some military personnel deployed to the Niger Delta region of alleged partisanship, making public its preliminary reports as one of the accredited election monitoring groups. The CTA said the military men did not only abandon their primary responsibilities, but were found wanting in responding to security breaches. Addressing the media at the CTA Situation Room on Sunday in Abuja, the acting executive director of the group, Faith Nwadishi, noted that men of the armed forces allegedly prevented election observers from performing their legitimate duties even after proper identification in Rivers, Bayelsa, and Yobe states.
The conduct of men of the armed forces deployed to flashpoints to ensure the security of lives and property leaves much to be desired. In many instances, men of the armed forces left their primary responsibilities and became participants in the electoral process. We have always talked about the role that security personnel play in our electoral process. Now we are seeing a dangerous dimension to that, the inclusion of the armed forces into our electoral process.
Meanwhile, election observers under the platform of the Independent Foreign Observers have commended the Independent National Electoral Commission for transparency over the conduct of the presidential and National Assembly elections. The group believed the elections appear to have been free, fair and credible to this point.
From the reports filed in by our observers deployed all around Nigeria, it was recorded that the turnout of voters across the country was impressive, as supporters of the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party were active in casting their ballots for their respective candidates. The conduct of the electoral officials appeared to be consistently fair and an indication of non-interference by the government or any of its agents. There were, however, some polling units that experienced late arrival of election officials and/or voting materials. In both Abuja and Nasarawa State, observers witnessed polls opening late and voting beginning after the scheduled start. In Abuja, Jeff and I, personally, saw voting begin as late as 9:30 p.m. after we arrived, and later in the day, in a Mararaba polling station in Nasarawa State, voting didn't begin until 1 p.m., again after we arrived. There were also reports of unruly behaviour at some polling units that required the immediate deployment of security to restore order. An example was in Kaduna State, where voters attempted to provoke security personnel, although a senior military officer quickly resolved the situation.
Still ahead, Pope Francis promises concrete action to tackle child sex abuse. To join us again. Well, thanks for staying with us. Pope Francis has promised concrete action to tackle child sex abuse at the end of a Roman Catholic Church summit on pedophilia. A clergy guilty of abuse were tools of Satan, the Pope said, pledging to face every case with utmost seriousness. Child sex abuse, he said, reminded him of the ancient religious practice of child sacrifice in pagan rites. He added bishops will now review and strengthen their guidelines to prevent abuse and punish perpetrators. And it's time for us to take a look at some entertainment news.
Church and other religious bodies have been urged to organize events that will have economic impact and value in the society. The special personal assistant to the general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Leke Adeboye, who made the call at a news conference to unveil plans for this year's annual Marathon Messiah Praise Concert, said the event has become a source of spiritual upliftment and economic empowerment to many people.
We have over 1,000 youths volunteering to be part of this. There's a ripple effect as well economically because those people have to be fed. So somebody that is doing the cooking will benefit from that. There has to be clothing done as well, which obviously some tailors will benefit from that. So we're basically generating an economical effect around the program as well.
The coordinator of the Marathon Messiah Praise, Femi Oyetunde, and the RCCG National Music Director, Kunle Ajayi, speaks more about the annual 77 hours non-stop concert.
We look at it that young people that have passion, that have energy, should be able to come to use their time well to praise God.
You could see that majority of the youth we put there, people from the Redeemed Station, the go upcoming artists, a lot of them, this is a platform for them.
Some gospel artists billed to perform at the gospel concert, which include Buchi, Nathaniel Bassi, Tosin B, Big Bolaji, amongst others.
From entertainment to sports news, Liverpool got the point they needed to return to the top of the Premier League, but were left frustrated by their failure to break down a Manchester United side that was ravaged by injuries. Injuries to three midfielders meant United were forced to use all of their substitutes in a bizarre 25-minute period before halftime. With Manchester City in action in the Carabao Cup final on Sunday, the result means Liverpool move a point ahead of them with 11 games to go. United dropped to 5th place, with Arsenal leapfrogging them with their 2-0 win over Southampton. Well, that was it for us on STV News at 7. Thanks for watching. I am Vivian Uguche. It's back to Nigeria Votes. Stay tuned. Well, you're welcome back to Nigeria Votes. Of course, I'm Vivian Uguchena, and my co-host Ambrose Zengwanye is here. We also have our Public Affairs Analyst, Alesta Wilcox, also Omoshola Deji, a political scientist. This is just a wrap-up, right? So we'll quickly do what we can in some few minutes, Ambrose.
Yes, just parting words.
Yeah, Nigerians have voted. I want to commend INEC. It was a peaceful process. I want to commend Nigerians for conducting themselves in a peaceful manner. The isolated incidents that took place in Okota, Lagos, Abonima in Rivers State, Boni, and maybe some other few areas. Fortunately, we've not had anything untoward from the north, from most part of the northern states. We've not had any incidents from that side of the country.
Except for explosions before the polls even began.
In Maiduguri, yes, in Borno State. But again, from your correspondence, you discovered that Borno State is peaceful and they've been able to release about 13 local government results. So I think by and large, it's been a wonderful process.
Okay.
And within these next few days, before the final result is being released, nobody should do anything untoward. I heard from your news, a particular party is already asking that their candidate be declared.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's something we're going to look into later on, right?
Which for me is quite unfortunate and irresponsible.
Right.
So let us keep the peace and allow the process to run through, and let's have a final result by the time, and then we'll congratulate whoever the winner is. All
right, Omoshola, you wanted to add your 2 cents to the rhetoric, the one about unarmed policemen, quickly.
Yes, the guest in Abuja, he talked about having concealed weapons, releasing dogs against
canine
ballot box snatcher. But one thing we need to realize is Nigerian politicians are like students and examination malpractice. So the more you come up with a way to curb examination malpractice, you see students coming up with 10 different ways to beat examination malpractice. So the solution to that really should be, we should make politics less attractive, less rewarding. A situation whereby you meet a man on the street and you ask him, what's your occupation? And he says, I'm a politician. We have so many politicians without alternative address. So I think that should change.
One was even saying that there should be an institute of politicians. I mean, talking about OG, Senator
OG. Maybe that will be established in the future. So, let's get the parting words from Igho Akeregha in Abuja. Your parting words, sir, in 30 seconds.
You don't have 30 seconds. We just have 10 seconds for you.
Okay, in 10 seconds, please. Parting words. Okay. We are signing off now. Thank you.
It's all right. I shall be calling on INEC to live up to expectation. This delay in this process of collating results for 3-4 days is unacceptable. We should adopt the electronic voting system so that results can be collated and declared within 24 hours at the close of voting. And I call on Nigerians to be peaceful and await the final outcome.
Gentlemen, that's our show for today. We got to say thank you so much. Just stay tuned to STV, right? We got more for you. In the meantime, we'll take a short break. Thank you.